Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. It's Sunday afternoon, early evening when I'm recording this, and this video is going to be posted on Wednesday. And I wanted to bring that up at first because, as you may know, if you've watched my last two political readings that I posted, I wasn't originally planning on posting any more political readings this month. It is August. I wasn't planning on posting any more political readings this month. I was really had my mind focused on posting more readings for September, getting some of those going, and posting love readings. But I'm in constant communication pretty much with my spirit team and with my ancestors. And my great-great-grandmother came through earlier this week on Tuesday or Wednesday, give or take, and told me she wanted me to shoot 4 videos this weekend, 2 of which I already did and which have been posted already. You can find those. I will try to put links or buttons for those in this video at the end. But the other 2 she wanted me to do today. And which I was like, okay, fine, but what do you want me to read on? When I was originally given this. And she gave me topics. And the topics, as far as I was concerned at the time, were kind of out there. But I was like, okay, we're going to do this anyways. One of the topics that she gave me that I'm going to be reading on right now is about Gavin Newsom running for president for 2028. Throwing his hat in the ring. I have watched, if you've watched the news, you know that he and his office have been orchestrating a rather elaborate trolling campaign of Trump. And he has also, aside from that, on a serious note, he has taken up the mantle of this whole gerrymandering situation that's going on in Texas, or which actually I believe passed in Texas. And he said, okay, if you're going to try to get rid of 5 Democrat seats and give those to Republicans, and I'm going to do the same, get rid of 5 Republican seats so those can go to Democrats in the state of California. So he's fighting fire with fire, as he's been saying. But given that, there's been a lot of talk in the political tarot community on YouTube, as well as, I should say, in other areas of society, in the news and elsewhere, about Gavin Newsom running for president. There's been a lot of speculation. If you watch Hogarth's channel, he's done some astrology work and looked at Gavin Newsom's chart versus Trump's, or the Orange Man, as I like to call him, and to see what the likelihood is of Gavin Newsom running for president. I know there's some other people have looked at his chart and said that, it doesn't really look like that's a possibility for him, but we don't know. Right now we don't know. So, all that to say, the other day, my great-great-grandmother gave me a message, and specifically what her message was, which I have written down here, I'm looking at, it says, Bernie Sanders talked to Newsom about running for presidency. That was the message that she gave to me, the topic that she wanted me to read on. So we're going to expand that out a little bit and talk about Gavin Newsom running for the presidency in general. We'll touch on Bernie Sanders and what role he may play. I've got a few questions written down here about that. So that's what we're going to go to Spirit about with tarot and ask today. So I'm going to shuffle up these cards. Finish shuffling up these cards. right. All right, so come on down. Let's have a look. There you go. All right. So I'm going to pull 3 cards. I'm going to start out with what is the can you please show me the possibility of Gavin Newsom running for the presidency in 2028? What's the likelihood of that? What's the likelihood that Gavin Newsom will run for president in 2028? Justice. What I'm getting off of this initially is it's the right thing to do. I feel like he feels that it's the right thing to do. It's the appropriate thing to do. It's the fair thing to do, because the injustices that have been occurring for the last, how many months has been? It feels like it's been way more than, 8 months that Trump has been in the White House now. But I feel like it feels like it's the correct thing for him to do is to run for office, run for the presidency, whether in 2028, regardless of who he's running against. That's what I'm getting, is that he's feeling that it's the right thing to do in order to right the wrongs, I should say, that have been occurring so often in the last 8 months, and prior to that as well, during the first Trump administration. Okay, what's the likelihood that he's very concerned about the wrongs, the misdeeds, the misdoings, if that is even a word, that's what they want me to say, misdoings, that that the current administration has inflicted upon us and upon this country. He's doing it with a sense of justice. King of Cups. This is, some people view this as the Joe Biden card. Some people view this as, I think Libby and some other folks on YouTube view this as the card of the American people, who we are, what we are, down at a soul level. Newsom himself, I feel like with this card, is bringing a maturity and a compassion and an awareness that is not currently in the White House at all. Now some people may say that the trolling that he's been doing of Trump is immature. And you can make that argument, but I understand what it is that he's doing. He's not. Some people think that he would be a great president. Some people don't. I'm not really here to talk about that necessarily today, but I do feel that he is trolling Trump and doing what he's doing in the way he's doing it for a reason, and it's to be a mirror, really, to show the world, specifically show the American people. You don't really need to show the world; they know how crazy this is. But to show the American people, like, this is what you're dealing with, okay? What I'm doing is the same thing he's doing, okay? It's no different. But having said that, he's bringing a balance and a calm to the storm, or has the ability to do that, and bring rationality as well. The King of Cups is somebody who is in control of his emotion, but very in touch with his emotion, but he's not over the top or anything. He is calm and emotionally calm and stable, which is the exact opposite of what we have in the White House at the moment. Um, this is somebody, in the case of Gavin Newsom, who can partner with other people in government to get things done, who has that diplomatic streak where he can speak to people and get his point across in a way that is truthful and honest, but isn't bombastic, isn't nasty, accusatory, any way off-putting or offensive, not purposefully. Um, I also recognize that Newsom is a Libra as well. I think his birthday is October 10th or October 11th or 12th, somewhere around there. He's a Libra as well. But his energy brings a much needed calm and level of maturity to the situation, because the elections we've had have been, because they have involved the Orange Man, it's been like dealing with a child, an unreasonable, irrational child, worse than a child actually, because we understand that children do the things that they do because they don't know, they're young, they're not mature, and they do end up growing out of it. However, we're dealing with somebody who's very much a senior citizen who's doing all of these things, and that makes it very difficult. But anyways, all that to say, there's a level of maturity and calm and compassion and understanding that is very much needed right now that Gavin Newsom brings to the table. All right. So last card for this part, the spread. What is the likelihood that Gavin Newsom will run for president for 2028? The Hierophant. This is interesting because, well, before I get to that, just one second. The challenge, this whole situation, is the Seven of Wands. And this does actually lead into what I was going to say about the Hierophant. He is going to face, and is already facing, a lot of pushback and backlash. There are a lot of people who would not want him to run for office, or not that they wouldn't want him to run for office. They don't think that he's fit for running, fit to be president, that he would be a good president for numerous reasons. There are people on both sides of the aisle, people in his own party who feel that, people who are independents who feel that, people who are Republicans who feel that. So there's a lot of adversity, really, that he faces. There are a lot of voters who are on the fence about him. Some people just see him as another corporate Democrat who is trying to be more progressive, or trying to appear more progressive, in order to garner support, perhaps garner support for a potential run. There is a mistrust of him, that some people feel. Bottom of the deck, what we don't see coming is the the Seven of Pentacles. Time will tell what's going to happen. He could, I feel like, in some respect, it seems like his heart is in the right place. He probably does want to make the country better, but I still think he's going to operate the way almost all politicians have operated for the past, I don't know how many years, which is it's very corporate, it's conservative in a way, and the Democratic Party is getting a lot of flack for not being progressive enough. And I think he's still going to walk that middle of the road. I think he's going to, with this Hierophant card, people are thinking that he's going to maintain and, not maintain, maintain the tradition, let's say, of corporate financial support for his campaign, and in which case the election isn't so much an election of an official who will govern and take care of the country, but it's basically like a popularity contest based on who has the most money in their coffers, this candidate or this candidate over here. I think that's the concern that's being faced here, that's coming up with the Hierophant, which is, the Hierophant represents the traditional way that we've done things, the way we've always done things, government as itself, which can be corrupt. It's funny that the Hierophant here in that little box, you see the guru. So it's not just the priest, the pope, but the guru, who some people follow a little too willingly, and who may be doing some things that aren't too kosher behind the scenes. And that's what people are concerned about. What is going on behind the scenes with Gavin Newsom that we don't know about, that may not be kosher, that may not be, is he on the same level as Trump? I doubt it, but I think people are, a lot of corruption has been exposed in the past decade plus in the government, and people are now, after this episode with Trump, people are really, really gun shy, I think, or going to be really, really gun shy about who they're putting their support behind. They are really going to take their time to think things through and to wait and see what happens, wait and see what Gavin Newsom does, and anybody else for that matter. It's not just him. I think he is, for some people, a bit of an unknown still, but bottom line is, people are waiting to see what's going to happen before they get too excited about anything, which I think is fair. Okay. So let's posit a scenario, and let's talk about Bernie Sanders. I did some Googling, and apparently Bernie Sanders is supportive of Newsom. Sorry, I'm mumbling. Probably a friend of his, I would say, if not a very, very close associate. He is somebody who's older and wiser, has more maturity, even so. I would say it's unlikely that he himself will run for president. But let's ask the question, since I was told that Bernie Sanders, I got Bernie Sanders talk to Newsom about running for presidency. Let's ask, let me go to my yes and no deck. Let's ask the question, will Bernie talk to Gavin Newsom and encourage him to run for president for 2028? Will Bernie Sanders talk to Gavin Newsom and encourage him to run for office in 2028? Yes. Okay. So that's a yes. So he will talk to him and encourage him. I am seeing him guiding him, like saying, okay, I've run for president before. Here are some pitfalls to watch out for. Here are some things to consider. And since Bernie Sanders himself is a bit more progressive, it could be that that Gavin Newsom takes a page or two out of Bernie's playbook to maybe appeal to the hearts and minds of people who want more progressive, who want Democrats to do more, who want to see bigger changes in the way the Democrats run things. All right. Will he take a page? Will Bernie act as an advisor to Gavin Newsom? No. Okay, I got no, and then I also got a blank card. So he may not act in an advisory capacity formally. I'm getting formally. But I think his ideas, what I'm picking up is his ideas, he will be informed by Bernie Sanders' ideas. Okay. Let's ask some other, we'll go back to the tarot for a minute. Let's put those over to the side. I'm just going to take one card. What is Bernie Sanders' future in politics? Because like I said, I don't see him making another run for the presidency. I see him being a supporting figure in the background for many different people, actually in many different states. But I personally don't see him running. But let's go to Spirit and see what they say. What's Bernie Sanders' future in American politics? I think Bernie Sanders even said that he's not going to run again. And I believe him when he says that, actually. Most people, when they say that, I don't believe them, but I believe him when he says that. One card, please. What's Bernie Sanders' future in American politics? Ace of Wands. Don't count him out. Okay, don't count him out. He still has fire under his belt. Fire in his belly is what I'm trying to say. Still has fire in his belly. Challenge is the High Priestess. What we don't see coming is the Six of Wands. I still feel very strongly that he's a support system, or he will be part of a support system for other people, so that they have success, so that they could win, they can have popularity and success. I don't feel that that's necessarily for him. However, I do still think that he will have a hand in politics, that he'll be successful, that he'll initiate some different things. I think he'll continue on as senator, and initiate some things, work across the aisle with people. This High Priestess I find really interesting here, because it's making me think of Kamala, and I feel like that's always going to be in the background, at least for the time being. I feel, maybe in the next few years, there's the specter of her presidency in the background, and I feel like maybe he feels that even though he still has fire and energy and a willingness to do things, that it's time for other people to take the baton and to step forward and to find success in the political arena, and have success serving their country in a greater way. It's time for somebody. It's the time for somebody younger to do that. It's not. I'm not gonna say it's not time for him, but it's maybe past time for him to take the baton and lead the country the way it needs to be led. But I still think that he's going to be around. I don't think he's going anywhere. Let's look at Gavin Newsom. We asked about the likelihood. Let's just ask in general, what is his future in American politics? What is Gavin Newsom's future in American politics, generally speaking? The Lovers. There is larger partnership that that's in his future with the American people. This is a major arcana. This is not just being a governor. This is going on to do bigger things. When those things are and what those things are, we can't really say for sure right now. Things are still up in the air, and quite frankly, I think it's a little early to be talking about 2028. But and again, this is the Queen of Swords. We have the specter of the woman who lost, or not who lost, but who experienced a loss in the election. That is the specter of Kamala losing the election looms very large, and right now it looms very large. I think whoever we were reading on, quite frankly, we'd be getting similar cards here as a challenge to the High Priestess and the Queen of Swords. That female energy that is wise, and that is compassionate, and that is stable and dependable, and balanced, is sorely lacking, especially because we got very close. As we know, people have looked at the election results. She won the election. The election was stolen by the Orange Man, point blank, period. There's no reason to say for entertainment purposes only for that, but for entertainment purposes only, because we are talking about something in general, talking about Gavin Newsom, that may or may not even occur. But the specter of, I almost feel like some people want to leave an avenue open, at least subconsciously. They may not be doing anything consciously to to show this, but I feel like subconsciously they want to leave an avenue open for Kamala Harris. Not that they're not running for president because she can or because she might, but I feel that if she does run for president, then everybody's gonna be like, okay, well, all bets are off, we're done, we're out, which makes it not an election, really. But I feel they know that she's not going to, they know that once Trump is out of office, she's not going to just be installed, if you will, as president. It's not going to work that way. There is going to be an election. However, I feel like a path is being left open for her, should she want to do that, should she want to run again, and that with that I feel like there will be some discussions, and Gavin Newsom is a close friend of Kamala Harris, from what I understand. They've worked together for sure, and he's a like I said, his family and her family are close. I think there would be a discussion, at least between the two of them, if he decided to run, or there might be a deference to her. There is because she did lose the election the way she did, I feel like there's a certain amount of respect that individuals feel that they owe her. And not just because she was the vice president. It's beyond that a little bit. Um, but it's funny that the Knight of Swords is what we don't see coming, and what I'm seeing is that Gavin Newsom is the Knight of Swords compared to her Queen of Swords. She is, if she does run again, she could pick him as a running mate. Okay. Um, and that could be with the Lover's card. Lover's card is also about choices. It's not about choices, it's about relationships. And he does, like I said, he does have a relationship with Kamala Harris. They are friends. Um, I think they're godparents to each other's children, or godparents. She's godparent to his children. I don't know, something like that. I thought I read somewhere. Um, and her husband is godfather to his children, or something to that effect. Um, oh, I didn't know my air conditioning was on. Sorry. If you heard that, my air conditioning just turned on, which I was not expecting. Um, yeah. So because they are friends, because there is this relationship, they may there may be a sit down meeting or a phone call or something between the two of them, and they might talk about, it's like, okay, well, what are your plans regarding 2028, and what are your plans regarding 2028? He could have the choice of running or being her running mate if she does run again. And we are going to do a reading at some point. I am going to do a reading at some point about whether or not, after she does her book tour and spends time going around the country talking to people, if she feels that she's going to run again. Whether or not, as I said in the reading where I talk about this, whether she does or she doesn't, I think we're gonna see a new Kamala Harris when she returns to politics. And I do think she'll be returning to politics. I just don't know in what capacity quite yet. But should she decide to run for president, she may ask him if he wants to run. She may ask him to be her running mate. And I feel that he may, which is odd for somebody, I think odd for somebody who's a Leo rising the way he is, and very leonine about it. He may decide to be her running mate, kind of in deference to her, which is interesting. Okay. I think that's really all that I'm going to talk about here today about this. I just thought this was an interesting topic that my great-great-grandmother came up with. So I think we'll leave it there. Let me bring you guys up. Thank you so much for joining me for this reading. This was a shorter one, especially compared to the other two that I posted yesterday. Or when you see this, it'll be on. I posted on Saturday, a few days ago. But thank you so much for joining me. Again, this is for entertainment purposes only. I didn't say that at the beginning. It is for entertainment purposes only. We are entertaining ideas and opinions and having a discussion. And if you want to further that discussion, leave me a comment down below if you'd like to get in touch with me for whatever reason, but if you'd like to get in touch with me about a reading, and you'd like it like a personal reading, I'd be happy to do that for you. My contact information is in the description box below. And that's all from me. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. For entertainment purposes only.